The quiet talk in the meeting room had been growing for weeks. Katherine Collins, the newly chosen leader of Nexus Technologies, couldn't ignore them anymore. Jack Miller, the night janitor, a quiet single father who kept to himself, had been seen going into locked areas after work hours. Security cameras showed him staying near boss computers, going into the research and development area when he thought no one was watching. With a big new product coming soon and other companies watching closely, Katherine couldn't risk someone stealing company secrets. Tonight, she would follow him herself. What she found would not only change her opinion of Jack Miller, it would change her entire company. Watch the full story to understand why sometimes the quietest person makes the biggest difference, and why a successful company leader decided to change her entire company because of one janitor. Jack Miller, 42, moved with practiced skill through the shiny hallways of Nexus Technologies. His rough hands pushed the cleaning cart carefully, eyes looking down but watching. 4 years at Nexus had taught him which bosses left coffee stains, which computer workers stayed latest, which security guards could be trusted. His old blue uniform hung a little loose on his body. Once strong and fit, now thin from years of stretching every dollar to provide for Emma, his 8-year-old daughter. The cleaning workers loved Jack. He took the worst work times without complaining, filled in for sick co-workers, and somehow remembered everyone's birthdays with simple handwritten cards. Yet to the bosses he remained invisible, just another replaceable service worker keeping their perfect office building clean. Katherine Collins, 35, was everything Jack was not in the company ladder. Beautiful with sharp green eyes that missed nothing. She had moved up quickly through the levels at Nexus with smart business plans and tough decisions. As a single mother to 10-year-old Nathan, she understood giving things up, but her Harvard business degree and fancy work clothes created a huge gap between her world and Jack's. After a painful divorce from a cheating husband, Katherine had built walls around herself, trusting numbers and data more than people. Made leader 6 months ago, she ruled Nexus with scary skill and careful suspicion. Neither knew how completely their worlds were about to crash together. Katherine first noticed a pattern during a late-night check of security rules. The new money manager had mentioned finding his computer moved slightly one morning when Katherine asked for camera recordings from the past month. A pattern showed up. Jack Miller going into areas beyond where he was allowed using computers after work hours, sometimes putting what looked like storage devices into ports. "This is the 3rd time this week," she whispered, looking closer at the fuzzy camera footage of Jack going into the server room at 11:43 p.m., well after his work shift was supposed to end. He came out 40 minutes later, slipping something into his pocket. The next morning, Katherine called in her head of security, Marcus Reynolds. "What do we know about this janitor?" she asked, sliding Jack's worker file across her desk. Marcus shrugged. "Miller, quiet guy, reliable, been here about 4 years. No complaints." "That's it? The man with access to our entire building at night, and that's all we know." Katherine's voice took on the edge that made bosses nervous. The file was thin. Jack Miller, 42, previous jobs various. No college listed. Single father. Emergency contact. Mrs. Elaine Miller, his mother. Perfect attendance record. Minimum wage plus standard benefits. Nothing that explained why a janitor needed access to high-security areas or boss computers. That afternoon, Katherine noticed Jack polishing the glass walls of the meeting room while her boss team talked about quarterly predictions. His reflection watched the presentation for a moment before moving on. Had he been reading the secret numbers shown on the screen? "We have a major product launch in 3 weeks, she reminded Marcus later. "If any of that secret technology leaks, want me to fire him? We could do it quietly." Katherine thought about this. Something didn't make sense. Jack had been at Nexus for years. Why start stealing company secrets now? And if he was stealing information, why be so obvious about it? "Not yet. I want to know what he's doing first, who he's working for." That Friday, Katherine canceled her dinner plans and stayed late, changing into casual clothes kept for gym emergencies. When Jack's shift ended at 10 p.m., she followed him to the parking lot, staying back as his beat-up Honda Civic pulled out. The car headed away from the wealthy neighborhoods surrounding Nexus into areas where working-class people lived. Katherine kept 3 cars between them, heart beating fast. Was he meeting contacts? Selling Nexus's special technology? After 20 minutes, Jack parked outside a rundown community center. The faded sign read, West Side Community Resource Center. Jack got a worn backpack from his trunk and walked inside. Katherine waited 5 minutes before following. Through a window, she could see Jack setting up laptops in what looked like a classroom. Children began coming in, mostly teenagers, some younger from clearly different backgrounds. Jack greeted each by name, helping them settle at computer stations. Confused, Katherine slipped inside, staying in the hallway. She could hear Jack's voice, warm and confident, in a way she'd never heard at Nexus. Remember what we talked about regarding how to make computer programs run better? Today, we're putting that into practice. Let's build something that actually helps people. Katherine peeked around the doorway. Jack stood in front of a whiteboard, drawing what looked like a complicated software chart. The teenagers watched with complete attention as his confident hands showed connections between parts. Hands that hours earlier had been emptying trash cans at Nexus. Mr. Miller, a girl with bright eyes, raised her hand. Could we use this same way for the community information database? Excellent question, Lucia. That's exactly the kind of use I had in mind. Katherine watched, amazed as Jack led the class through what she recognized as advanced computer system building, college-level material at least. These children, many wearing second-hand clothes, typed quickly as Jack moved between stations, offering help with patient skill. After class, she followed Jack to another room where younger children waited. From her hiding spot, Katherine watched as he gave out fixed-up laptops to wide-eyed children. "These are yours to keep," she heard him explain to a boy no older than 10. "I've put in learning programs and basic computer coding tools. The password is your birthday, just like we practice." The boy hugged the laptop to his chest like a treasure. When Jack finally came out from the center 3 hours later, Katherine ducked behind a column. She watched him load empty containers back into his car. The same containers she'd seen him carrying out of Nexus. Not stolen technology, but donated equipment. Her phone buzzed with an urgent email from her assistant. Distracted, Katherine didn't notice Jack coming closer until he spoke. "Miss Collins, is everything all right?" She froze, caught in her following. Jack stood a respectful distance away, confusion clear on his tired face. "I was just dropping off donations," she made up, pointing vaguely toward the center. Jack's face stayed neutral, but his eyes, surprisingly sharp and smart, showed disbelief. "The center always appreciates support," he said carefully, "especially from someone like yourself." "Someone like myself?" "Someone with influence." He hesitated. "If you're interested in the program, I'd be happy to show you around properly next time. We teach coding, computer skills, resume building, basic skills that might help these kids break cycles of poverty. And you're qualified to teach these things because..." The question came out more accusing than she meant. Something changed in Jack's face. "Good night, Miss Collins." He walked to his car without looking back, leaving Katherine with more questions than when she'd arrived. The next morning, Katherine told her assistant to gather everything available on Jack Miller. By afternoon, she had her answer, one that made her sink into her chair in disbelief. Jack Miller wasn't just qualified to teach computer programming. According to old articles and patents, he had once been Jonathan Jack Miller, senior systems builder at Empirical Software. More shocking, he had been part of the original team that created the main technology that Nexus had later bought and built their main products upon. "This can't be right," Katherine muttered, looking through job records. Jack had held a high-ranking position at Empirical, then suddenly disappeared from the industry 5 years ago. More digging revealed the reason: a wrongful firing lawsuit that Jack had filed against Empirical's then leader William Harrington. The lawsuit claimed Jack had been fired after reporting unsafe shortcuts in medical software that could have hurt patients. Though Jack had eventually won a small settlement, Harrington had blacklisted him throughout the industry. Shortly after, Jack's wife had died of cancer, leaving him alone to raise their daughter. Katherine sat back, thinking about this information against a man who silently cleaned her office each night. The janitor with looking-down eyes had once been a rising star in exactly her industry until standing up for what's right costs him everything. That night, Katherine returned to community center, this time walking directly to the main office. The director, an older woman named Diane, greeted her with surprise when Katherine introduced herself as Nexus's leader. Jack never mentioned knowing someone from Nexus. Diane remarked, "We're not exactly acquainted," Katherine admitted. "I'm curious about your program here." Diane's pride was clear as she explained. "We serve mostly immigrant and low-income families. Many parents work multiple jobs, leaving children unsupervised. Our center provides safe space, meals, and education." She hesitated. Jack's program has been life-changing. Before him, we could barely offer basic computer access. Now we have coding classes, computer skills, even job preparation. And Jack provides us for free? Diane's face softened. He volunteers all his time. The equipment comes from donations he somehow finds. Fixed-up laptops, monitors, cables. We've seen children who couldn't turn on a computer now building websites for local businesses. Katherine followed Diane to a small classroom where Jack sat with an elderly woman, patiently showing her how to use video calling software. She hasn't seen her grandchildren in Venezuela for 8 years. Diane explained quietly. Jack set up the connection and taught her how to use it. As they toured the building, Katherine noticed the homemade nature of everything. Old equipment, furniture held together with tape, a leaking ceiling with carefully placed buckets. Yet somehow the space radiated purpose and hope. "Our biggest challenge is space and equipment," Diane shared. "We have a waiting list of 60 children. Jack does miracles with what he finds." "But what if someone wanted to help?" Katherine asked. Diane's eyes widened. "That would be amazing." The next day, Katherine approved an unnamed company donation to the West Side Center, enough for building repairs, new equipment, and expanded program space. When Jack arrived that evening to find new computers being installed, Diane simply said they received an unexpected blessing. Over the following weeks, Katherine found herself making up reasons to work late, watching Jack from a distance. Once aware of his background, she noticed the differences. How he carefully organized server cables that most janitors would mess up, how his eyes stayed on computer code shown on developer screens, the careful way he handled electronic equipment others might treat as trash. When developers left test tablets unattended, Jack didn't steal them. He adjusted their position to prevent overheating. When secret documents were carelessly left out, he didn't photograph them. He placed them in secure drawers. The man she'd suspected of stealing company secrets was actually providing unpaid security watching. Katherine was still thinking about these discoveries when crisis hit Nexus. 3 days before their major product launch, the team found a critical problem in their main software, one that threatened to delay release by months and possibly cost millions in lost money and stock drop. The boss floor became a war zone of blame and panic. Katherine ordered an emergency meeting of all senior technical staff. Solutions suggested were either too time-consuming or risked causing new problems. As the meeting went down into finger-pointing, Katherine noticed Jack quietly cleaning the next-door meeting room, his reflection in the glass showing a face of worried concentration. On impulse, Katherine stepped out of the meeting. "Jack, could I speak with you a moment?" He followed her to a quiet corner, keeping a respectful distance. "You were part of the original empirical team that developed our main framework," she stated without introduction. Jack's face revealed nothing. "You've been researching me?" "Yes." Katherine met his look directly. "We have a critical system failure in the integration layer. Given your background, I wonder if you might have ideas." For a long moment, Jack said nothing. "Then may I see the error logs?" Katherine led him to her office, ignoring the surprised looks from bosses as the janitor followed her. She pulled up the problem reports on her screen. Jack studied them closely, his body shifting slightly as he leaned forward, change visible as the janitor faded and the builder appeared. His fingers hovered over the keyboard questioningly. When Katherine nodded permission, he began typing with confident precision, moving through complex system building with clear familiarity. After 20 minutes of focused work, he straightened. The integration layer isn't the main problem. It's a memory allocation issue in the underlying framework. something we ran into in the original development. He pointed to specific sections of code. These workarounds are causing cascading failures when the system grows beyond certain limits. Can it be fixed before launch? Katherine asked. Jack nodded slowly. With the right approach. I'd need to see the full code base to be certain. Katherine made a decision. Come with me. She led him back to the boardroom, where arguing bosses fell silent at their entrance. Without introduction, Katherine announced, "This is Jack Miller. He was senior systems builder on the original framework and has identified our problem. For the next 48 hours, he'll be working with our development team." The technology leaders disbelieving the janitor hung in the shocked silence. Katherine fixed him with a level stare. Mr. Miller was building advanced computer systems while you were still learning basic coding. Thomas, I suggest you listen carefully to what he has to say. 46 hours later, Nexus launched its product on schedule. The critical problem had been not only fixed, but improved upon with Jack's solution, creating unexpected improvements that made overall performance better. The stock price jumped 12% by closing bell. In the aftermath, Katherine called an all-hands meeting. The entire company, from bosses to cleaning staff, gathered in the main open area. Jack stood uncertainly at the back, still in his janitor's uniform. Nexus faced possible disaster this week, Katherine began. Our success today isn't just about avoiding failure. It's about recognizing value where we fail to see it. She motioned for Jack to join her on the platform. After a moment's hesitation, he did, discomfort clear in his stiff posture. Many of you know Jack as the man who keeps our buildings running. What you don't know is that Jack Miller was once at the forefront of the technology that made Nexus possible. She went on to outline Jack's contributions to the industry and the moral stand that had cost him his career. While we've been stepping over him to reach our offices, we've been unaware of the skill literally cleaning up after us. Katherine turned to face Jack directly. On behalf of Nexus, I offer both apology and opportunity. We would be honored to have you rejoin the technical leadership team, starting immediately. Quiet talking rippled through the crowd. Jack's face stayed carefully neutral, though something flickered in his eyes. That's very generous, Miss Collins, he replied, voice steady. But I'm afraid I must say no. Katherine hadn't expected refusal. Before she could respond, Jack continued. 5 years ago, I made a choice between career advancement and doing what's right. That choice cost me my career, but kept something more valuable. His voice gained confidence as he spoke. In losing that world, I found another. The children and families I work with at Westside Center need people to stand up for them, and mentors more than this company needs another systems builder. Katherine recovered quickly. Then I propose an alternative. Nexus will start a technology access program with the Westside Center as our main partner. We'll provide equipment lesson plans and job pathways. Most importantly, we need a director of community technology outreach to lead this program. She extended her hand. The position is yours if you want it. The open area erupted in applause. Something remarkable happened to Jack's face. A genuine smile changed his features, erasing years of careful guardedness. This, he said, taking her hand, is an offer I'd be honored to accept. The change began immediately. Jack continued his evening classes at Westside, now with Nexus's full company backing. Katherine visited regularly, at first to watch the investment, then increasingly because she found herself drawn to the center's energy and purpose. On one such evening, she arrived to find Jack teaching Emma and a group of children, including her own son, Nathan. She hadn't planned this crossing of their personal lives, but watching Nathan engage in learning, his eyes alive with the same excitement she'd once felt for technology before boss pressures dulled it, Katherine felt something stiff within herself begin to soften. Jack came over as class ended, his manner more relaxed in this place than at Nexus. Nathan has a real talent for spatial reasoning, he offered. He solved a three-dimensional modeling challenge most adults struggle with. He hasn't shown much interest in my work before, Katherine admitted, watching her son helping younger children pack up their materials. Perhaps because company software lacks dinosaurs and spaceships. Jack suggested with unexpected humor. Katherine found herself laughing. A genuine sound that surprised them both. Fair point. As weeks passed, the program expanded. Nexus workers began volunteering their skills. Former center students returned as mentors. Jack's quiet leadership style, so different from Katherine's direct approach, proved remarkably good at building community participation. What began as professional respect between leader and janitor-turned-director grew into something more complex. They were both single parents hurt by loss, both driven by beliefs beneath protective shells. In Jack's devoted care for others, Katherine recognized a strength different from business success, but equal to her own ambition. In her determined skill, Jack found matching purpose to his patient nurturing. The breaking point came during budget reviews when Katherine defended the program against board members questioning its return on investment. The Technology Access Program isn't charity, she stated firmly. It's smart investment in future talent and community goodwill. Our quarterly engagement numbers show 32% improvement in brand view. More importantly, we've already identified 17 exceptional students for our job training pipeline. Admirable, the money manager acknowledged, but the resources given seemed too much compared to immediate returns. Jack Miller created our main building blocks. Then we made him clean floors because the industry blacklisted him for doing what's right. Katherine responded sharply. How many other brilliant minds are we missing because they lack opportunity, not ability? This program corrects institutional blindness while building competitive advantage. After getting continued funding, Katherine found Jack waiting outside the boardroom. You didn't have to fight so hard for us, he said quietly. Yes, I did. Their eyes held for a moment longer than professionally necessary. That weekend, their children's playdate became dinner at Katherine's home, then stayed into evening conversation after the children fell asleep watching movies. Somewhere between discussing lesson plans and sharing stories of single parenthood, personal walls began dissolving. Why did you follow me that night? Jack finally asked. You could have just fired me for using computers without permission. Katherine thought about her answer carefully. Something didn't fit. The careful way you worked. I needed to understand before judging. A rare quality, Jack observed. Most people find judgment more convenient than understanding. I've been on the receiving end of quick judgments too often to trust them, she admitted. Their conversation continued past midnight. Two guarded people cautiously recognizing reflection in each other. 6 months after Jack's appointment, the West Side Center hosted a formal opening of its expanded buildings. The Jack Miller Technology Lab sign had been Katherine's surprise, overruling his protests about recognition. The classroom, once cramped and homemade, now featured state-of-the-art equipment, comfortable learning spaces, and walls decorated with student projects. More important were the faces. Children from the community alongside Nexus bosses, neighborhood parents beside software engineers, all united in celebrating something built together. As Katherine prepared to address the gathering, she caught sight of Jack kneeling beside a young boy struggling with a coding problem. The patient attention he showed, the same focus whether helping a child or solving million-dollar technical problems, made clear everything that had changed at Nexus under their unusual partnership. When I became leader, Katherine began her speech, I measured success through market share and profit. Important measurements, certainly, but incomplete. She motioned around the room. True innovation happens when we recognize potential in unexpected places, when we value contribution over credentials, when we understand that talent doesn't always arrive in expected packages. Jack stood quietly at the back, uncomfortable with attention, but clearly moved by the changed space and opportunities it represented. This program began because one person refused to abandon beliefs or community, even when it cost him everything professionally. Katherine continued. Jack Miller reminded us that technology should serve humanity, not the reverse. In doing so, he's helped Nexus rediscover its purpose beyond profit. The center's first graduates, now Nexus interns, gave Jack a handmade sign. Unlike the company's professional recognition, this one read simply, "For the man who saw what we could become before we knew ourselves." Later, as the celebration continued, Katherine found Jack standing alone watching their children playing programming games with other students. Having second thoughts about refusing that senior builder position, she asked, joining him. Jack shook his head. None whatsoever. He nodded toward where Emma was helping Nathan fix his game. Some building matters more than software. Katherine found herself reaching for his hand, a move that would have been unimaginable months earlier. Nexus was building all the wrong things before you arrived. You were the one brave enough to change direction, he countered. Perhaps we needed each other to see clearly. Her fingers tightened briefly around his. I'm still learning to value what can be measured in quarterly reports. Jack's smile reached his eyes, a change still new enough to seem remarkable. And I'm learning that sometimes influence can amplify impact rather than corrupt it. As evening fell, families slowly left until only main staff remained. Katherine watched Jack help cleaning workers, his former co-workers, organize the cleanup. Still basically the same humble man, despite his restored professional standing. Nathan came over, interrupting her thoughts. Mom, can Emma come for another coding sleepover this weekend? Mr. Miller said it's okay if you agree. Katherine smiled at her son's excitement. I think that could be arranged. As they prepared to leave, Jack locked the new building with care born of years, protecting what mattered with limited resources. At the entrance, he paused before a newly installed wooden sign bearing the center's expanded name, Westside Technology and Community Development Center, built for second chances. Your idea? He asked, recognizing Katherine's influence. Some concept deserved recognition. Their eyes met with shared understanding of second chances, professional and personal. Emma and Nathan raced ahead to the parking lot, their friendship simple, unlike the adults' complex history. Katherine and Jack followed more slowly, their professional partnership growing into something neither had looked for, but both increasingly welcomed. The board-approved regional expansion, Katherine mentioned. 5 new centers within 2 years. We'll need someone overseeing the broader program. She glanced at him. Someone who understands both the technology and the human element. Jack thought about this. Ambitious. Necessary, Katherine countered. Technology access remains the greatest predictor of economic success. What you've built here deserves multiplication. They reached their cars parked side by side, her luxury sedan and his practical Honda, containing children already planning their weekend project. I'll consider it, Jack promised, if you'll consider something in return, which is joining us for the wilderness STEM camping trip next month. The children learn environmental monitoring technology. Parents learn to survive without email for 48 hours. Katherine laughed, the unguarded sound still new between them. Terrifying. Growth requires discomfort, Jack reminded her, repeating her own words from a recent strategy meeting. As they prepared to drive their separate ways for now, Katherine thought about how completely her understanding had been changed. 6 months ago, she followed a janitor suspecting stealing company secrets. Tonight, she was following his lead into community impact she'd never imagined for her company or herself. Katherine, Jack called as she opened her car door. When she turned, his face held the quiet certainty that had first caught her attention. Some of the parents are organizing a community dinner next weekend. Nothing formal. You and Nathan will be welcome. The invitation hung between them. Professional working together, edging toward personal connection. We'd like that, she answered simply. As they drove away in opposite directions, her to the Boss neighborhood, him to his modest apartment, Katherine caught a final glimpse of the center in her rear-view mirror. The building stood changed, just like the company, just like their understanding of value and purpose. What began with suspicion had become partnership. What started as company program was becoming community, and something that had begun as professional respect was becoming. Katherine smiled to herself, comfortable with leaving that particular development unfinished for now. Some building needed time to reveal their full design. Behind her, the center's new sign caught the last light of day, built for second chances, for a company, for a community, for 2 people who had forgotten how to trust until cleaning floors and running companies proved unexpectedly compatible paths to remembering. The story wasn't finished. In many ways, it was just beginning.